好啦，咁啊，係啦，咁啊 ，OK， 好。好啦，已經上咗去 YouTube 啦，已經。好，咁我哋等多2分鐘嚇，唔該晒大家。好，咁我啱啱做多個 last minute 嘅 promotion 嚇，咁啊應該有啲朋友會 join 噶啦。好，咁我哋就仲有少少時間啦，咁我哋就差唔多開始啦，咁就 OK， 非常好啊，幾好嘛，喺英國天氣凍唔凍啊？
英國而家好凍，係
好凍啊，非
係。
常好。好，咁啊，我哋差唔多7點啦，準時開始。咁啊，大家好啦，咁啊，好高興咧，今日又嚟到HoCHK 嘅教室啦。咁啊，我哋今晚咧好高興咧，邀請到Rosalyn 咧，就為我哋分享呢個 Python 嚇，用 Python 嚟整一個計數機喎。咁啊，大家咧就會聽到點樣樣透過一個簡單嘅一個編程啦，可以做到一個加減乘除啦，咁或者一啲 power 啦。咁啊，今晚其實都好多人報名嘅，可能陣間晏啲啲朋友咧就會出現噶啦嚇。咁我將時間咧而家就交翻俾 Rosalyn， 多謝，唔該。
Hello, so I'll start by sharing my screen really quickly. Can you guys see my screen?
Hi.
So today we'll be doing the Python calculator, which is very simple coding in Python, which is a programming language used very widely in different countries for different platforms. So today we'll be using several functions. So define, which is DEF in short, and it defines a function. For example, define add x, comma y. This is when you add the number x to y. So, and then we have print. Print is very simple. It's just when you want to print a specific message on the screen on the other side when you run your code. And then there is while true. While true is basically a forever loop if you guys have used Scratch. So Scratch, it's block code, but when we do Python, we type everything up. So while true is basically the forever loop. And if in is to check if something is in something. So it's basically giving someone options or choices. We also have break, which is to break a loop, which is when we were doing while true. So when you're in a forever loop, we could break it by using break. And then we have if else. This is a statement that you've probably seen in Scratch as well, as a block code. So it chooses something or the other thing. And then we have equals to, which is 2 equals sign, not 3, 2 equals sign. And it means equals to directly. And then finally we have return. This is used to end the execution of function calls, and it returns the result. So now we're going to try log into Trinket, and we're going to start on Chrome, which hopefully I can share. Can you guys see my Trinket? Can you guys see the screen, the Google? Okay, so we're gonna go into Trinket.io and start with logging in or signing up. So I already have an account, so we're gonna just log in for me. If everyone has managed to log in, and can you guys put a 1 in the chat, just so I know you guys have managed to do that? I don't think you can use Trinket without an account. I think you might need to create one, which is really quick. I'll give you some time to do that. Once you're done, could you please type 1 in the chat? Thank you. The link for Trinket is in the chat, so if you need to, you can go there and get the link, and then please log into it afterwards. Thank you. If you've managed to log in, can you please type 1 in the chat? Thank you. Okay, I've seen that some people have managed to do that. So we're gonna go to create a new Trinket. So it's this blue button here, and we're gonna click on Python. So here we have two kind of screens in a way. So this side is your workspace, and this side is kind of what, when you run the code, you'll see what happens. So if we could just test it by doing something like print hello world, just to test it out really quickly and see if there's stuff coming out the other side. Yes, so it is basically on, so when you go to home and then new Trinket and Python. If you guys have managed to run hello world, could you please just type 2 in the chat really quickly? Thank you. Okay, so now that we know that we can use our workspace and put the code with this run button onto the other side, we should start doing the calculator. So delete your first line of code, and we're going to replace it by define, def, add open brackets, x, comma, y, and then end it with a colon. So this function adds two numbers together, and how we know is we're going to do return and x plus y. So if you guys have done this, could you please type a 3 in the chat really quickly? So when you run it, you won't see anything because it's not being printed yet. But you will just know that it works if it doesn't appear with a red syntax error. If you've managed to do that, can you please type a 3 in the chat? I'm going to give everyone a little bit of time to type that in. Okay, I'm going to assume that everyone has managed to do this. So now we're going to go on to do subtracting. So define, subtract, x and y, and then a colon. Now we're going to return this again to do x minus y. And then we have adding and subtracting. We're going to then continue doing this, and this time we're going to multiply. So we're going to do define, multiply, x and y, and then there, and return x times y, which is the star button. It's, if you have an American keyboard, I would assume it's on top of your 8. So x times y. If you guys have managed to do these 3 functions, we're learning to do different functions right now. So if you guys have managed to do these 3 functions, let's type a 4 in the chat so I can make sure everyone's doing the right thing. Okay, that's great. So let's move on to finally dividing, and this will do the same thing, define, divide, x and y, and return x divided by y. So the divide time we use a slash. It's the / under your question mark on your keyboard, and we're going to finally do to the power of. So define power of, and when you're writing stuff in Python, you can't have a space if you want it to be one. So we're going to do an underscore between power of, or you can just choose to do it without a space at all, but I prefer to have a space as an underscore. And then we're going to do the x, comma, y, and then colon, and return x, and this time we do 2 stars and y. If you guys have managed to do this, could you just type a 5 in the chat? Thank you. Thank you. I can see that everyone's following on really well. So we're going to finally do one more function, and this function will divide with a remainder. So we're going to do define DWR, so divide with a remainder. I've just shortened that, and x, comma, y, and return x, and then with a percentage sign, y. So the main thing that matters here with the formatting is that you have all the indents right. So define, all the defines have to be at the start of your line, and then return has to be inside your define. And if you can't get that, you can just do a tab, the tab button, and it should go in. And if you guys have managed to get to line 17 of code, so define with remainder, the one with the percentage sign, please type a 6 in the chat. I'm going to give everybody a little time to type that up. So if you haven't gotten this down, please don't worry. At the end of the lesson, I'll put a PowerPoint back onto the chat. So if you've missed out anything, you can add it. But please try and make sure you have everything, because that really affects how your code runs. And sometimes if you're missing like an indent, or if you typed return wrong or something, your code will appear with a syntax error. So now we're going to go on to printing. So we're going to show what we want people to see on the screen, which is this. I'm going to try to show you guys how it will look. So when you run, what we're aiming for is it to look something like this. So we're going to have to do select operation, add, subtract, multiply, divide, and to power of and divide with the remainder. So now we're going to try code this part. And what we're going to do is do print, as we've done previously, and then open bracket and double quote marks and select operation. We'll stop. And when you run this, you should be able to see select operation. We could do a colon here actually. And if you guys can see that, let's type a 7 in the chat to make sure. Yeah, I will undo the spelling mistake really quickly. So I see that most people have managed to do this. And now we're going to go on to choosing your functions. So adding, subtracting, and giving them options basically. So print 1 dot add. And we're just going to copy and paste this. We'll make sure we have open bracket and add and copy and paste it. And we can just change what's in it. So 2 subtract and 3 multiply. And the fourth one would be divide. The fifth one would be divide power of. And the seventh one would be divide with remainder. No, the sixth one would be divide with remainder. So if you guys have managed to do this part where we have all of this listed on the side, this side of the screen, would you please type 8 in the chat? I'm going to give everybody a bit of time to do this. And I can see that most people have managed to do that. Now we're going to move on to our forever loop and take the input from the user. So if we start a new line and we're going to do while true, which is the forever loop. While starts with a small letter and true starts with a big letter. So this is the forever loop. Hashtags show that this is a comment and will not be printed. And then we're gonna do an indent. So what you're typing in. Enter choice. Of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. And then we're going to print it to see if that works. And if you guys have managed to do that, please put 9 in the chat. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to type it in the chat as well. Thank you. Please remember, if you're going to do the hashtag forever loop, it will not be printed. You have to make sure it has a hashtag because we don't want that to happen on your screen. So once you're done, please type a 9 in the chat. I'm going to wait a while for people to do the I see that most people have managed to do this, so we're going to continue. So now we're going to want to make sure our choice is between 1 and 6, so the user is typing in the right thing. So first we're going to have to align this with the choice, so tab it twice, and then if choice in, I'm going to just add a bracket here to make this easier. So we know that. Those are the choices. 1. Yes, what's your problem?
It's just like the input name error. Name input is not defined on line 28 in main.py.
I think you will have to make sure do you have the indent right?
2 spaces. 2 spaces.
It's not spaces, you have to do the tab.
Oh, tab.
So undo your spaces and then do the tabs twice.
That's what's causing the problem. Thanks. Let me see. Does it run now? It still says it's not defined. Even though I 2 tabs.
Do you mind sharing your screen really quickly so I can see the issue?
We're using the computer.
Damon, you can share screen. Why don't you do share screen? It's easier. Thank you.
We are using the computer and I'm using iPad for Zoom.
Oh, okay. Why don't we continue for a bit and then we can see if after we've done the next 3 line of code, if it works for you, maybe?
Okay, thanks.
No worries. So if we continue, we're going to do, now it's going to be single speech brackets. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, and 6. And then we're going to do a colon after that. So right now we're checking if the choice is one of the 6 options. And we're going to do enter again. So this time it should be underneath the if statement. So number one is a float. Which a float is a number that's not an integer. So if it is a float, we will open bracket input, enter, first number. So which number do you want to add or divide? And then we're going to close done bracket. And then we're going to do the second number again. So num2 is float, input, enter second number, and let's see if we can do this. I'll put this bit of code in the chat for anyone. If you're running into errors, you can just try compare it and see. The formatting might be a bit off, but if you've managed to do this, let's go with number 9 in the chat. No, number 10, sorry. I'm going to give everyone a little bit of time. If you've managed to do this, please type the number 10 in the chat. Thank you. Okay, I see that everyone has managed to do this. Most people have managed to do this. So why not move to the next part? So if choice is 1, then we're gonna do print our first number of choice and add it to the second number. So how we're gonna do this is we're gonna make sure there's an indent here aligned with num1. So if choice 1, we're going to print number 1 and add number 2, and then once again print equal to add number 1 and number 2, because add is a function we've defined earlier at the very start. And so now we can test this out by just running it and then typing in the choice of 1, and then we can have the first number. 2 plus 3 would be 5. So if you've managed to do this, let's go with number 11 and type it in the chat. I'll give everyone a bit of time. So if you've managed to do this, could you please type 11 in the chat? Okay. I think that most people have managed to do this. So now we're going to do the same thing, but this time we're going to use LF. So now we're going to do LF. So we're going to backspace and then do LF. So make sure this is aligned with the if statement. Choice is equals to 2. Then we're going to print. We can do the same thing here, but basically subtract. So why don't we copy and paste this? Print number 1 minus number 2 equals to subtract. So if we test it, we have -1, and if we do it again, we have 5 for addition. So make sure you're changing the signs from plus to minus. So now we're gonna we don't really need the brackets because we can still print it without the brackets here, as seen. If you can't do it, maybe you can add the brackets back in. If you've managed to successfully run the code for function what like choice 1 and choice 2, so adding and subtracting, please type 12 in the chat. It should look somewhat like this when you've run it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to type in chat. Now let's continue doing the same thing, but for other options. So if we do LF choice is 3, if the choice is 3, we're gonna do times it. So change that to times button and equals to multiply. And the same thing will happen for the next option. You can just copy and paste it or type it again if you like. So number 4, choice 4 would be divide and equals to divide. Choice 5 would be to the power of, so star star and power of with an underscore here. And choice 6 is a bit special because what we are doing is we're going to make it have remainder. So how we do it is we do the divide sign, and then still stay with divide. But we're going to add a comma after here, after the end of that phrase, and then do print again. Open double bracket, open quotations, the remainder of, comma, number 1 and number 2 is dividing with remainder DWR and num1 and number 2. So I'm going to give everybody a bit of time to type this out. You can run your code to make sure there are no errors. So maybe if I type in 6, we can do 3 divided by 4. That would be 0.75. The remainder of it would be 3. And if we do 1, so then we can do 3 plus 4 would be 7. 4 we're dividing, so 2 divided by 2 would be 1. So if you guys have done this, let's type a 13 in the chat. You can play with your code a bit, test it out. And if you've managed to done this, please type the letter 13 in the chat. So if you managed to do this, please type 13 in the chat. I see that some people have managed to follow along. Damon, have you managed to solve your issue with the input?
Yes, we made the I capitalized. We capitalized the I. That's what caused the problem.
Okay, that's good. Have you managed to catch up?
Last one row.
Okay, that's good. So remember, if you've typed anything wrong, even with the capital letter or an indent or just missing a comma, you will have a slight issue there because Python's very strict. Yes, I will send the code in the chat for everyone. No, I can't do that. Wait a sec. I'll start from the choice section because the message is too long to paste. And once again, the formatting is not correct from Zoom, so you will have to type it out again. And if you manage to do this, please can you type a 13 in the chat? And now we can see that while we have time while we're waiting, Trinket is a very good platform to code on because you can click on some of their highlighted words and they will define what they are for you. So for example, if I go on Aleph, so we can see use Aleph for Aleph conditionals, or if we do print to write an output. So these are very good functions for if you're trying to learn code on your own, or if you just don't understand it, you can just try and click on some of them purple words and they probably will explain it to you. So I see that most people have managed to do this. So why don't we move on to our final bit of this code? So we're going to check if the user wants to do another calculation. So this will be in line with all of the if elif statements. So we're going to start again. Next calculation, we're going to have to define that first, is equals to input with a small letter I, open quotations, double quotations, let's, open brackets, double quotations, let's, do the next calculation. And then we're going to give them a choice of yes or no. And then once we're done with this, we would want if next calculation equals to.
I can see the
Okay.
screen, the new code. I can see the new code. Oh,
Can
now
you see it now?
I appeared. Now I appeared.
If you can see, okay, so I'll give you a bit of time to catch up. So make sure your next calculation is aligned with all your elif statements, and once we're done with this part, maybe we can type a 14 in the chat just to make sure everyone's catching up. If you've managed to do that, please type a 14 in the chat. If we've gotten to here, we can just continue. So print, thank you. Thank you. So if the answer is no, we want to say thank you. And then we will break this loop. So stop it from continuing. So break. But now if the input is invalid, we want to do else, but this has to be outside your if statement. So we want it to be on this line here and not here. So this is where we want our if statement to be. But once we break it, we will have the else here because of the indentations. So else print invalid input. And if you've managed to do this, let's put a 15 in the chat. I will run my code really quickly to see if it works. And if you have anything missing, like per se, you missed out that quotation marks, it won't run and it will say bad syntax error. So you'll just have to add something back on. You're probably missing something or your indent's wrong. And now we're gonna try calculation 3. So we're doing 5 and 8. So 5 times 8 is 40. And do we want to do our next calculation? Yes. And let's try function 5. So 2 to the power of 2 is 4. And if we don't want to do it, it will say thank you. So if you manage to do this, let's do a 15 in the chat. Which part of the code do you want? That is okay. That is the last part of the code. If you've managed to do that, please type 15 in the chat. Thank you. At the meantime, I can see that some people may have joined late, a bit late, so we can do, I'll put the PowerPoint for today's lesson onto the chat. So the PowerPoint I've uploaded doesn't cover everything we've done, but it does cover some of the basics. So if you've managed to do the code, you can run it and test it out. And if you want to share it with everyone, so you can press save. And you can see that it has reloaded, and you can rename it to Python calculator. And then share, publish, and then publish. And you will see that you have the link to it. You can copy the link and put it in the chat for everyone here to see. So I will do that for my project. And if anyone wants to put their link in the chat as well, you can do that. And in the meantime, let's go over really quickly what we've done today. So we have done today, very quickly, so we've learned to define functions and print. We've done a while true forever loop, basically, and to check if options are in something. We've also learned to break a loop, which is very important, and if else statements. We've learned how to make sure something equals to another thing, and we've also learned to do return. The PowerPoint is in the chat. So our first part of doing this code, we've done addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and power of and dividing with the remainder, which is not on here, but these are the very basics. We then have done how to print out on the other side of the screen and done the forever loop of doing choices for everyone. So next part we did was an if else statement, giving people choices. And finally, we did next calculation. So do we want to do the next calculation and a bit more choices? And then we've done breaking the loop and invalid input. So if anyone has any questions, please put it in the chat. And let's look at David's project from today. And that is very good, David. and it works perfectly. So I keep on doing that. I think you may or may not have missed out for next calculation. You may or may not have missed out. If not, print invalid input. So that's all.
Okay, Rosalyn, I think we can say a few more words. So your part is done. Okay, good. Why don't we do a little bit more sharing? So I guess I can give a bit more information to all of you.咁我呢度用廣東話啦。今日咧Rosalyn 為我哋準備咗7張 slide 咧，咁但係其實內容咧就好豐富噶啦。咁今日你見到其實用嗰個編程嘅平台咧，就一個好簡單嘅 account 已經可以做到晒你要做嘅嘢。咁但係其實坊間咧有好多唔同嘅平台啦。咁我哋如果之前有留意過咧，可以睇 Rapid 啦。咁其中一個，如果你 Rapid 嗰度去揾咧，好簡單啊。咁你去揾 Python Calculator。咁你一撳咧，其實已經見到一紮咁有好多唔同嘅 calculator 啲 project 啦，唔同類型嘅，你見到去到5啊、10啊，咁原來喺世界各地咧有好多唔同人咧已經做緊好多唔同嘅 calculator 噶啦。咁我諗今日咧做完之後，大家可能都會諗what's next 啦，想做多啲啦。咁點解 Rosalyn 可以做得咁好啦？咁我諗呢方面咧，大家咧其實就可以上網去睇一睇啲相關嘅 project。咁我哋咧呢度咧就抽咗其中一個出嚟俾大家睇多少少。咁我哋如果去 run 一個 project 嗰陣時咧，你會見到咧佢去個執行嘅方法咧，其實就同阿 Rosalyn 今日做過有少少唔同嘅嚇。咁有少少唔同，因為咧其實大家都可以設計啲屬於你自己嘅 calculator 啦。咁譬如呢好簡單啊，我哋撳1，咁咧佢就會做個加數啦。咁我咧就想加幾多號？2加幾多號啊？2加1啊 ，OK 好。咁你見到咧就加咗3出嚟。咁但係咧，如果我哋去做 calculator 咧，最重要咧都係想去睇一睇老婆我哋可能會去好。咁我哋呢度咧，你見到咧就係我哋一個 calculator 嘅模式啦。咁最重要咧，其實就係喺呢個過程當中咧，其實個程式代碼，今日你透過 Rosalyn 嘅課堂咧，其實已經學識咗點樣去做一個基礎嘅一個計數機出嚟。咁咧，其實去睇呢啲程式代碼咧，其實未必需要自己去寫。咁但係識得去睇人哋嘅代碼咧，其實係好重要。咁我相信咧，今日大家透過 Rosalyn 嘅課堂咧，已經掌握咗個基礎嘅技巧㗎啦。咁好啦，大家可能都會問啦，咁想再做好啲，有啲咩做啦？咁好簡單大家見到咧 Python GUI 即係叫 Graphical User Interface 嘅 calculator。咁你一上網咧一揾咧，已經係有五花八門，有好多個 calculator 出到嚟。可能大家會想諗啦，我如果想整一個即係有掣俾你撳嘅 calculator 可以做啲咩咧？咁樣。咁大家去上網咧，其實就好簡單嘅啫，上網去揾一揾，咁咧就會見到噶啦。咁佢哋咧都會教你哋可以做一個有掣俾你撳嘅。咁當然啦，個程式代碼就當然複雜啲啦嚇。咁你嘗試諗一諗我哋點樣再做落去 ，Wish 想唔想做啊？好唔好啊？咁你見到咧個代碼就長好多噶啦嚇。咁時間關係啦，咁我就喺呢度停一停。我想最撈尾咧就做少少嘅總結嚇。咁咧就其實目的咧就想俾大家睇咧，其實即係開始咗第一步嚇。咁後邊咧其實都仲有好多嘢去俾大家分享嘅。咁我呢度咧就希望大家咧繼續留意我哋 HoCHK Hong Kong 啦。今晚嘅課堂咧已經係上咗去我哋個 YouTube channel 噶啦。如果大家咧想去上翻多啲Rosalyn 嘅課堂咧，喺呢度有個放大鏡，撳一撳 search 佢個名，你就可以揾翻晒佢之前教過嘅所有課堂噶啦。咁我哋今晚咧就去到呢度。咁我哋再一次多謝 Rosalyn，well done，thank you，俾掌聲好嘛？
多謝晒今日咁多個同學嚟上堂，唔該。
well done，好，拜拜，多謝大家，
拜拜。
拜拜。